Okay. Okay, I think I'm live on Instagram. Hello, my name is Ben Pettitt-Wade. I'm the Artistic Director at Hijinx. I'm just trying to see if Facebook is working for us as well. And where do I see the comments? There we are. Ooh, I'm getting some waves. That's very nice. Hello, everyone out there. So we're just going to try and get everything working, make sure everything's up. There we go. Hello, hi Ben from King's Head Theatre. Hello, King's Head Theatre. So I think this is all good. As I said, my name's Ben Pettitt-Wade, and I'm the Artistic Director at Hijinx, based in Cardiff. We're going to just hold on for a bit for people to join us, and then I will start today's talk. Hello, Sarah Cole, and welcome. Hello to all the followers of King's Head Theatre and any followers of Hijinx that are out there. Nia, I recognise that name. Hello, Nia. Good to have some friends in the room, because this all feels very strange, talking into a camera with no one else visible. I am currently in my attic room in Cardiff. You may hear children in the background because we are doing the whole lockdown with children thing, homeschooling and all of that. I'm sure many of you are experiencing as well. So if there's the odd scream and shout in the background, that's what that will be. No apologies, really. That's the reality of the situation we're all in. We'll just get collecting. Give people a few minutes to join. Instagram is something I'm not so used to. I've kind of a reluctant user of Instagram, so I may take a while if questions come in via Instagram. I hope I'm able to access them and make all that work. So basically, I'm going to chat a little about my own route to where I am now as Artistic Director at Hijinx, and then move on to talk a little bit more about Hijinx, what we do, and how our approach to devising theatre, working with artists with learning disability and or autism. At any point, please do post your questions, either via Facebook or Instagram, and I will do my best to come to them at the end of the talk. So just give it a couple more minutes. I hope everyone is doing well out there on this greyish day and coping well with the current situation, making the best of it, the best we can. That's certainly something we're trying to do at Hijinx. Thank you to King's Head Theatre for inviting us and myself to be part of this series of talks. I have seen a few of the other ones, and it's a great thing that you have been doing, and I hope everyone else has been enjoying them as well. And I hope it won't be too long before you're able to open your doors again and welcome people to your theatre. I'm not sure we've been to the King's Head Theatre before. I think we've had probably conversations about it. I remember certainly for our tour of Meet Fred, there was some early talk about going to King's Head Theatre. Maybe one day soon, I hope we'll be able to. My 4-year-old is currently being very noisy. It's lunchtime downstairs, and I think there's some sort of dispute over what exactly gets made for him for lunch. Okay, so I think we've got a few people in the audience, so to speak. So I will begin. As I said earlier, my name is Ben Pettitt-Wade, and I'm Artistic Director at Hijinx Theatre. I've been the Artistic Director for about 5 years now, but I started at the company in 2007. So a little plotted history, if that's useful for anyone out there, of my route, if you like. So I studied drama at Liverpool John Moores University. I possibly would have gone to a drama school if I'd been good enough, or my parents could afford it. So my options were really only to go a grant-funded route. As it turned out, actually, the course at Liverpool John Moores was a very varied and useful course, giving quite a breadth of kind of experiences needed for the industry. So sometimes what may seem to be a second choice can work out for the best. After Liverpool John Moores, we started with some fellow graduates a startup theatre company called Barefaced Cheek Theatre, where we were based up in Liverpool, and we managed a couple of productions and a short national tour with that organisation, with that company, before it all sort of, it came to a close. And I think that experience, though, was really useful for me in the development of my career, because it gave all of us an opportunity to work not just as performers and devisers, but we'd be doing the tour booking, we'd be doing the fundraising, we'd be doing all the work connected with the running of a company. So it was a really good learning experience. After that, I worked as an actor for a short time before breaking my ankle during rehearsals for a TIE production in Liverpool. And that made me, I was left with very little funds. So I took the decision to start to make applications to gain a more constant income, something that I'm sure a lot of freelance artists are being forced to consider at this present time. So I applied for a job with a company called Spare Tyre Theatre Company, based in London. They are a portfolio organisation, and still are, and they're a community theatre company. So they work with all sorts of different communities. At the time, this included work with older people, work with people from the gay and lesbian communities, homeless communities, and also adults with learning disability and or autism. So my first experience of working in the field that I now do work was with that organisation. And I was part of a course called the Inc. Theatre course, which was training in performance skills for those artists with learning disability and or autism. Before that, I hadn't worked in this field at all. It was my first experience, and I think, it was a life-changing experience. I can say now, I might not have known it at the time, but I remember quite vividly walking into the room for the first time that had the artists working in it, and the warmth and the welcome and the creativity that I experienced in that room is certainly something that has influenced me and continues to influence me. I was with Spare Tyre for about 4 years, and I actually, and I'm afraid to say, for those who are in London, and I know it's very likely there are a lot of people watching in London, I fell out of love a little with living in London at that time, for various reasons, all sorts of reasons. So I took the decision to leave that job and take a bit of time out, what you'd now call a career break, I guess. I didn't really know how I wanted it to end, but I went and I spent some time doing seasonal work in my late 20s. This was in Greece and in France. And then I spent 2 years in Poland teaching English as a foreign language. And it was during this time then it really sunk in that the work I wanted to be doing, actually the work I missed, and the contact I missed, was the group that I got to know of artists with learning disability and or autism, connected to Spare Tyre Theatre Company. So I made an application to join Hijinx from Poland, at the time as an outreach officer, so running projects within the learning disabled community. And I was lucky enough to be successful in that application, and I joined the organisation in 2007 and moved back to Wales, where I'm from, to be part of Hijinx. So yeah, there's a very short plotted history of the work leading up to joining Hijinx. So who are Hijinx? Hijinx, we exist to change perceptions of people with learning disability and or autism within our society. And I just, a short thing on labels. I'm very aware that it's a very easy shortcut in a format like this to use a label to be able to explain the work that we do, but I prefer not to. So from this point forward, I'm going to refer to the people we work with as our artists, because first and foremost, they are artists. So the reason we exist, though, is to change perceptions and create opportunity for those artists within our society and within our industry. We do that through our theatre and increasingly our film productions as well. We have a number of strands, which we call houses, which make up the company. So one of our strands is our academies. So this is our training. We started this in 2012, and this was to offer high-level training for artists with learning disability and or autism that have a potential, said I wasn't going to use labels and straight away have, but that have a potential to work within the industry. If you are a person with learning disability and or autism, it's very difficult for you to access training at a drama school or at a university. But as a theatre company, it's essential that our artists receive training for the quality of our productions to remain at a high level. So, and this is something that we often do at Hijinx. If it doesn't exist, we will introduce it ourselves. So we introduced our academies in 2012. We started with one in Cardiff, and we now have 2 in Cardiff and 4 others all over Wales. So we have a network of training bases that they would usually, when not in lockdown, meet 2 days a week to receive training from a variety of freelance tutors who are also performers and artists in their own right. So in total, we're working with about 70 artists with learning disability and or autism on those courses. They're with us in the long term. It's not a 2-year or 3-year commitment. We could be working with someone for anything from a year to 5 to 10 years, depending on how long they want to be on the courses and how long we believe it's beneficial for them. Artists within our academies then also have the opportunity to take part in various residencies. So we often invite companies external to Hijinx, companies like Frantic Assembly, like Blind Summit Puppetry Company, like Spy Monkey, like Punch Drunk, to work with us and provide training that includes our artists with learning disability and other professionals. And that training has then sometimes led to collaboration on our productions. So we have a very collaborative approach to making our work, working with external companies. So over the past 5 years, our productions have been collaborations with Blind Summit on the production Meet Fred, collaboration with Spy Monkey on the production The Flop. We've collaborated with Punch Drunk Enrichment on a site-specific production, and with Frantic Assembly on a production called Into the Light. So that's all of our, I'll move on to talking about how we make our work just after I explain of the other strands in the organisation. So we also have our community strand, which we call POW, which is Welsh for people. And this is very much because we're aware that it's not necessarily everyone that has the potential to work professionally within the industry, although it is important for many people to access drama and theatre as for their own personal gain, so for social reasons, for to gain confidence. So we have what we call drama foundations, also all over Wales, that welcome anyone who is maybe more suited to a less target-driven environment. So they're softer targets, if you like, softer skills that those sessions are looking to help people with. And we have a community theatre called Odyssey, and this is a group that's been established for a long time, for about 20 years, and a group of adults both with and without disability or learning disability that have been meeting and creating productions together all that time. The next strand I'm going to talk about is film. So recently we've introduced a film strand, and we've started to try to influence through lobbying changes within the film industry to encourage, and television industry, to encourage more casting of artists with learning disability and or autism. And finally, we also have what we call our jobs strand. So this is our training for organizations. So in, for example, communication with clients who may have learning disability and or autism. And this offers a direct route to employment for our artists on our academies. So often, you know, they will be, well, they are always employed to deliver this training on our behalf as representatives of Hijinx. Okay, because I'm aware I did say that in the blurb I was going to chat about how we make work and our approach to making work. So all of our productions are devised. I've always believed that this is the most appropriate way of ensuring that everyone in the room has an equal voice in the making of that production. So we don't have a script-led process. It's important, I believe it's important, because our mantra, if you like, is nothing about us without us. And I think it's very important when you're working with artists with either disability, but especially learning disability and or autism, that you follow that mantra. And the devising process offers the clearest, I think, way of being able to follow that mantra. So what we try to create in the room is an equality of voice and the ability for everyone to engage and input into the story that they will be telling. And and this is, you know, as with everything, it's every process is an experiment in many ways. So every process is an attempt to gain that absolute equality, and sometimes it's more successful than other times, but that is what we aim to achieve. One of the ways, and over time as an artist, I've built up ways to try to achieve that. Some of it because I've been lucky enough to be involved in a lot of different residencies and different training workshops with the organisations that have come to be part of our residency programme. So a lot of it is influenced from all sorts of different working practices that we've been able to experience as a team through our residencies. So, for example, one of the way that a script is created is we, through improvisation, I will film everything that we improvise. Sometimes we might do the same improvisation and feedback on it, and then run it again with those suggestions, and then feedback on it and run it again with those suggestions. But each time it is filmed, so we have a record of it. And then the way that the script comes together is I will transcribe in quite detail those improvisations, kind of editing together, I guess, the best bits from a variety of improvisations of the same scene to find what may be the finished text of that scene. We will then go back and revisit it, but with the text. But what's important is the way that I transcribe is I'll transcribe every detail of that person's speech pattern. So any ums, ahs, etc. will be there within the script. So that particular person playing that role they're not having to fit the mold of something else, but the words they're saying are the way that they originally said those words. And I find one of the difficulties with the script-led process and for our artists is, if you like, trying to fit a square, in a round hole. It's I find it much more interesting and real, I guess, if you like, that people are, although something's scripted, it's their own way of speaking, if you like. So that is one aspect of the kind of making process that we've developed over time. And I think that was something that was picked up from a residency with Ridiculousness, who many of you may have, I'm sure, will know of. And it's the way that they kind of make work. They're very detailed about the speech patterns that they each have, and they transcribe all of their work after improvisation. Or that's what I learned, at least, at the time. Okay, what time are we on? We're on 1:20. So remember, if anyone has any questions out there, please do post them up at this point, or if you want any clarity on anything I've said. I may have jumbled up my words here and there. I've seen one question actually from Theatrix, which is, what is the community theatre called again? So our community group is called Odyssey, and they've been running, as I said, for about 20 years. I'll just give some history of Hijinx from before my time. So the company was founded in 1984, I believe, by two Cardiff-based artists, Gaynor Lucker and Dick Berry. It was originally a touring theatre company, so it would go to venues all over Wales, travelling around with a show in the back of a car in the boot. But they became known for taking theatre to places that were difficult to reach. So to village halls, to venues that weren't traditional theatre venues. The ethos was that everyone has a right to see live theatre. So they take theatre to your doorstep rather than expecting you to travel to a mainstream venue. And actually, Odyssey was when the company began to become interested in working inclusively. So it was the start of the story that the company has now become. And it was introduced by Gaynor and Dick because they wanted to see what it would be like to bring together a group of individuals who simply had a passion for performance. So there was no, but also was a mixed group. So they focused very much on accessing the learning disabled community within Cardiff to ensure that it was a mixed group of adults within that group. And much of the learning for the organisation has come through the forming of that group and the interactions with that group over the years. So they are still coming, and they're really going, and there's a really important kind of bedrock of all of the work that we do. I'm just going to have a quick look on, if I scroll down, then I have some questions. Sarah Cole, head of Head to Head Theatre, hello. So here we are. So Simon Jenner, hello Ben, I'm just about to start editing script with partners, so we'll probably have to look at this later. It's a great series. Okay, no question, but that's fine. I'll have to come back. Well, I won't do oh, sorry you haven't been able to stick with us, Simon, no problem. Wow, Florian from the National Theatre of Bucharest, hello. Is that the Richard Stilgo company? So do you mean, is Hijinx the Richard Stilgo company, Sarah? Or, yeah, if you'd like to clarify that question. But no, I think Richard Stilgo doesn't have a connection to Hijinx. But yeah. Any other questions coming in out there? Let's have a little look. Explain where Odyssey came from. Yes, no problem. I'm not sure how to scroll down in account. Okay, great. Okay, what I'd like to talk about then is what we're up to now, because obviously everything has changed for everyone out there. The moment lockdown was introduced in March, we took all of our work online as much as we could. So all of our academy sessions and other sessions now run, they have weekly sessions via Zoom, which to begin with was just a check-in, but over time it has become a creative space. So we found that we were still able to play many of the games and exercises that we were used to playing in the room. And play is a really integral part of the work that we do and the way that we make work. So it was really encouraging to see that we are able to do that, able to share and able to laugh and able to feel in each other's presence in some way in this new world. So that's been a really positive learning experience, and I'm sure many of you out there have experienced something similar. Of course, we're looking forward to getting back in the room with everyone, but this now situation has led to some learnings. One of the things we've introduced to try and share some of this learning is what we're calling our Wednesday workshops, which are open to the public. So every 2 weeks we run a Wednesday workshop where we invite anyone who may be interested to join in one of our sessions. And that will be with myself, with other members of the artistic team, and some of our artists as well. And it's simply a space to be able to play. So a space for us to share some of the joy that we have found in these sessions, in some ways as a way of helping with people's mental well-being. We found that not only, for our artists, the contact has been very important, but for us and our staff and our tutors that work with our artists, it's been a real highlight to our kind of days. So it was a way of sharing that. So if anyone is interested in those Wednesday workshops, I'll post up a link on the chat once we've finished, and I can focus on that. So I've got a question from Nia. How do you feel taking Hijinx online has impacted on the artists as well as the audiences? Sorry, I've got a very loud cat in the room now as well. So I think we've been surprised actually by the level of interaction and engagement we've managed to maintain via Zoom. And I think it's clear that engagement is having a positive impact on all of our artists that we have been able to get online. I mean, it has been a mammoth task by our staff to engage and support and help people to understand the tech and get involved in our sessions. But I believe at the moment we're running at about between 80 and 90% of our artists are now engaging with us on the line. So as I mentioned earlier, that's on our academies alone, that's around 70 people. So that has been very positive. And now we are looking at, as many other organizations are, how we make work in these platforms. And I've just actually come out of rehearsals on a project we put together to create a piece that's going to be part of the Green Man Festival this year. They're offering a kind of one-day online event. I'm not sure if it's been announced yet, but we are looking at creating some sort of Zoom performance for that. And that has been a real positive experience as well. What was interesting for me is how we adapt and create that equal space that I spoke about earlier in this new format. And actually it's worked quite well. I've had to change some of the ways that I work. What I like to do in the making of our work and in improvisations is have open improvisation. So not a situation where you send people off to think about a scenario and come back with something. I don't like people to think too much. I like people to think on their feet. So what I try to do is ensure artists understand in quite detail what a situation might be in terms of a situation that the improvisation is based in, and then let them do it live. Let them do it off the cuff, if you like, with that information and see what comes. And I like what happens in that situation is often surprises when things take a totally different direction, and accepting that different direction and seeing how it comes, where it leads to. But in this format, that's more difficult. So we have been using breakout spaces more to develop work and develop scenes. But still, we spend a long time talking about each scenario before smaller numbers go into breakout rooms and then come back. But actually what started to happen is they still are improvising their scene for the first time, if you like, in front of an audience. So what they'll do is, in front of the audience being the other participants, what they'll do is they'll go off into their breakout room and then have a good talk about what the scene is going to be, may involve, but then come back and improvise that scene for the group. And that's been working very well. Oh, fantastic. Look, Mr. Dave Ayres, otherwise known as Tom, has just put up a link to our Wednesday workshops. So please do follow that if you'd like to join us. We've got one on Wednesday this week, and then there'll be another one in 2 weeks. Question from Sarah. Do you always perform in theatres and tour? In which case, do the artists require support? And if so, how? So, yes, our theatre productions, we both perform in venues, so we make shows for theatre venues, but also we do make a lot of street theatre and take that to various festivals, outdoor festivals and greenfield festivals. In terms of support, every person has different, we assess each person on what they may need in terms of support. But as standard now, all of our productions will have a dedicated support worker with the production. And often that's just pastoral support, but also because touring is a very pressured environment, often you're living out inside each other's pockets for kind of longish periods of time. And for performers, it's quite strenuous for our team often if we don't have a dedicated support worker on that touring team. So all of our productions now, we ensure that there is that dedicated support worker. Okay, any other questions coming in? I don't think there are any via Instagram, unless I'm totally screwing up how you use Instagram. But any final questions coming through on Facebook? Let me just scroll. Fabulous. Okay. Fab. Okay, right. So I think, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I hope that some of what I have said has been useful. Please do contact us if you have any interest that you'd like to follow up on. We're always open and happy to answer questions. And I hope that someday soon we will all be able to see you again in a theatre, either in the audience or with us in the audience, and be together working in a room. There we are. Take care and all the best. Oh, and also what I should say is every day at 1 o'clock there is another live chat by other industry professionals on the King's Head Theatre online programme. It's on Facebook and Instagram. Please follow. and Hijinx Theatre as well. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter if you get a chance. Okay, all the best everyone. Goodbye.